How you doing?
I'm good.
Hi, nice to see you. I want to ask you real quick, do you see a connection at all between the rhetoric we're hearing from Democrats on Musk and Tesla, connection to the violence at all, or what's happening on the streets, to Tesla dealerships?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I've seen Republicans call me communist, and I hate this country. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
Breaking news from St. Joseph, Missouri, where behind me you can see there is a protest with over 100 people that are currently protesting Donald Trump and Elon Musk's takeover of the U.S.
Today, it's one of hundreds of so-called hands-off rallies scheduled across the country and around the world. Madeline Rivera, live at the National Mall in D.C. with the very latest on what's happening in the nation's capital. Hello, Maddie.
Hi, good afternoon, Kevin. Well, event organizers had hoped that this would be the largest single-day protest against the Trump administration since President Trump retook office in January. And I can tell you there are thousands of people here from across the country. I want to show you a little bit of the crowd right now. You can see right here, if my photographer Dartise pans on over here to see a little bit of the crowd, you can see people here walking out. They're carrying their signs, things that say resist. They're carrying their flags. The crowd has remained peaceful, but man, these people are fired up. They are angry, and they've been very vocal about their frustrations. They're accusing President Trump and Elon Musk of a billionaire takeover. They're accusing them of shutting down America for parts, shutting down Social Security offices, firing federal workers, all they say to benefit the billionaire class. There are several groups here, civil rights groups, labor unions, climate organizations. Democratic members of Congress also spoke today, and they are hoping to take on a sharper message that they hope will be effective and resonate with voters as they try to come up with a strategy, an effective strategy to counter the Trump administration. Here's Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Vance and Musk, they may have access to artificial intelligence, but they've got no access to human intelligence. These founders of the Dark Enlightenment, as they call themselves, are no match for the founders of the actual Enlightenment.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So once again, we got to talk about a party of weirdos, freaks, low testosterone men, and high calorie women, because they're taking their Trump derangement to a whole new level. Yes, I know we thought that was impossible, but it's not, right? These people are losing their minds on a daily basis. I don't know how they go about living regular, normal life with so much hatred of the president. Okay, President Trump is living rent-free in their heads. But, you know, here we are, right? These people are lashing out on a daily basis. Letitia James actually lashed out recently against President Trump for rolling back DEI.
That stone of hope that allows me to wake up and to stand to Donald Trump and to say, Donald Trump, I'm not afraid of you. It's that stone of hope. It's that stone of hope that gives me power. That's that stone of hope and the belief in each and every one of you to let you know that I'm not going to allow my ancestors, all of those who died for me, to be in this position. I am not going to disgrace them and disappoint them. I am going to use the law both as a sword and as a shield and challenge Donald Trump. And each and every time he issues an illegal executive order, I am going to stand up to him, because he represents to me sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And so DEI, as far as I am concerned, is more than about just black people. Let's be honest.
That's right.
DEI is about paid parental leave. DEI is about disabled children. DEI includes a number of categories. So when they talk about DEI, let them know that they're not only coming after us, but they're coming after all of us. And we've got to stand together, stand in community, stand with this great organization under the leadership of our civil rights leader, Reverend Al Sharpton, who has been a bright and shining light in the darkness. But I don't know about you. It's that stone of hope that inspires me each and every day. And listen, faith and fear can never share the same space. And so I'm covered by the blood. And I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. You can come after me, but no enemy, nothing formed against me will perish. Nothing formed against me. nothing formed against me. Nothing formed against me.
All right. Again, I'll take place.
Yeah, it's always the eyes, right? It is always the eyes in which you can see the craziness, right? I don't know what it is about these black liberal women that are in their 40s and their 50s, but they seem to be some of the craziest people, right? Along with the white liberal women, right? Because they're also crazy as well, too. In fact, I just think that it's a liberal woman thing, right? Regardless of skin color or race at this point, okay? So that being said, we got to talk about the so-called hands-off rallies that are happening across the United States of America. Again, these are Trump derangement, Elon derangement rallies in which, again, you have a ton of people, mostly liberal white women and low testosterone men, raging against Elon Musk and President Trump and the billionaires, right? And again, I just find it to be very fascinating that these people are protesting and raging against billionaires because it shows you that these people aren't thinking, right? They literally are not using their brains. They have been brainwashed by the Democrat Party, and that's why they're doing what they're doing, okay? Because clearly they're not paying attention. So I want to talk about this, and I want to go ahead and play some clips of the Democrats humiliating themselves by being associated with the most deranged lunatics in this country, which is going to be the downfall of the Democrat Party. But
hey, y'all, we are the litigators. Yeah!
Trash by this administration. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to roll back 6 decades of civil rights progress. They're peddling their private school voucher schemes to put money in the pockets of already obscenely rich billionaires.
4 years ago, I became the first trans teen to ever testify before the United States Senate. They can't take that away from me. I was young, and I believed we were turning a corner. I believed that we would be protected, and I believed that we were seen. But today, the promise that I believed in feels like it's slipping just out of reach. Just yesterday, I had a TSA officer look at my ID, confused, and tell me, pretty sure that's you. That's what it means to be trans in America right now.
And he's not just disappearing people. He's disappearing rights. And to that we say, disappear, we're still here. Our veterans, we're still here. We're still here. We're still here.
Their jobs. They might even find a cure for that baffling worm and brain disease. The great thing about science is it's true whether or not the Secretary of Health and Human Services believes in it. Let's all say with Maryland, hands off science. Hands off science. Hands off science.
We are currently living through a president who wants to be a dictator. In America, we do not accept dictators and we do not accept kings. We have a billionaire who has bought a seat next to the president, using him as a puppet. American democracy has never been for sale, and it won't be today.
yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how in the world is President Trump a dictator and a king if Elon Musk is pulling his puppet strings, right? I'm trying to figure out exactly how that works, right? That wouldn't make President Trump a dictator or a king if he's being controlled by Elon Musk. Again, I'm trying to figure out exactly what these people are protesting about, what they're upset about, what they're mad about. And again, it seems to me that they really don't know. They really don't understand, because they claim that they're mad at the rich, right? They're mad at the billionaires, that the Trump administration is enriching billionaires, that the tariffs are to enrich the billionaires. But at the same time, billionaires, the rich, are not getting richer under President Trump, at least not so far, okay? So again, that's why I'm scratching my head, because these people are freaking out over the stock market tanking, okay? even though they told us that the stock market is not a reflection of the economy, okay, that the stock market is a reflection of how the rich are doing, but yet they're boohoo, whining, and crying over the rich getting poor because, again, they're losing money in the stock market, but yet they claim that President Trump is trying to enrich the rich and that they are against the rich, which is why they're so passionate about protests against President Trump, because he's trying to make billionaires richer, except the billionaires are not getting richer, right? I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on here, right? What are these people upset about? What are they mad about? Because if they listen to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he made it very clear that this administration does not prioritize Wall Street. This administration prioritizes Main Street. And they basically shown with a vast majority of things that they've done thus far that is the case. Because, again, Wall Street is not happy right now, right? The billionaires, the so-called rich, they're not happy right now with President Trump.
I'm not happy with what's going on in the market today, but the distribution of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills. They rent their homes. They have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief. That I was struck by the statistic from last year.
That's the message right there. Just as a bystander, I'm like, wow, okay.
All right. Or that, you know, I like the examples, and I was really struck by two different statistics last year. Summer of 2024, Americans took more European vacations than they had in history. Summer of 2024, more Americans were using food banks than they ever have in history. I went into two food banks near my hometown to ask, what's the story? And they said, you know, it really takes, for a lot of people, it's a loss of dignity to walk in a food bank.
Of course.
But they were seeing a new phenomenon, that it wasn't their traditional clientele. It wasn't people who'd lost their homes. It wasn't people out on the street. These were working families who could no longer, you know, $100 at the grocery store, that basket of groceries every week, they were missing 5, 6, 7 things, and they were coming to the food bank to top up. So, you know, that's not a great America. Record European vacation, record food banks. And, you know, no reason we can't keep the record European vacations going, but we got to take care of these other people. And you know what? That they don't want handouts. The Democrats had this strategy called compensate the loser. So first of all, the name of that strategy, I don't think the bottom 50% of Americans are losers. I think the system hasn't worked for them. I think that they are winners. It's just a bad system. So we are going to fix the system. And look, they want good jobs. They want their kids to do better than they do. They want to own a home. They want to pay down their debt. That, you know, this isn't hard. And, you know, I think that we can do this in the next 4 years. Would it have been really fun for me to come in and just keep issuing a lot of debt? And, you know, it's almost like a bodybuilder is taking steroids. Outside looks great. You know, you're muscular. Inside, you're killing your vital organs. Yeah. That's what was going on here. But it would have been easy to keep pumping up the economy, borrowing a lot of money, creating a lot of government jobs. There was no controversy when we're doing all that. But you were going to end up in a calamity. If you go back and look, you look at the financial crisis in 07, 08, economy looked great right up until then. You go back and you look at the end of the dot-com bubble and then the whole credit problem, the fraud at WorldCom, Enron, some other companies, economy looked great until it didn't. And I think one of the things that we won't get credit for, but that this administration will have done, is avoiding a financial calamity.
Yeah, so it's very clear that if you're quote-unquote against the billionaires, you're on the wrong team, right? And I'm not saying that President Trump is against billionaires, but the Democrats certainly are not against billionaires, right? They are very pro-billionaire. In fact, they are a billionaire party. They're a party ran by billionaires, okay? And all of their economic policies benefit Wall Street, right? Again, this is why Wall Street loved the last 4 years of inflation, right? They loved it, okay? And again, that's why I find it to be so fascinating that they're freaking out right now, because they are allegedly afraid that there's going to be mass inflation and price gouging as a result of the tariffs from President Trump, right? But yet the left, they told us that big corporations were price gouging the last 4 years, right? This is why prices were so high, right? And we experienced massive inflation. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what is Wall Street upset about, right? If they believe that they can just price gouge and there's going to be massive inflation as a result of President Trump's tariffs, right? It's almost as if they know that's probably not what's going to happen, right? That's not what the outcome is going to be, right? Which is why they are running, right? They're running scared to the bond market, right? This is what they're doing. So, to me, these leftists, like, they're just mindless, right? They're mindless. They don't think for themselves, because if they actually took a second and to step back and think, they say, hey, well, hold on now. The main method in which rich people accumulate wealth is through the stock market, and the stock market is panicking right now over President Trump. Is he really the guy that I should be hating right now, right? And my main thing is, well, the rich are getting richer, and I don't like the fact that billionaires are benefiting while everybody else suffers, right? If that's your thing, okay, again, why are you protesting against President Trump right now? I don't get it, right? It doesn't make sense. It's almost as if, again, these people aren't thinking. They're not thinking. They're mindless, okay? They're just doing whatever Democrats tell them to do, right? Their Trump derangement has impaired their ability to critically think, okay? So, again, while these people are losing their minds over nothing, really, President Trump's approval rating apparently is going up, okay? This new poll from the Daily Mail found that, hey, President Trump, people are agreeing with what he's trying to do, right? His overall agenda. President Donald Trump is more popular now than before he sent the global markets into a frenzy by enacting sweeping new tariffs. An exclusive dailymail.com survey of over 1,000 registered voters conducted from March 31st to April 3rd found that the Republican remains largely popular in the United States. The poll found that Trump's approval rating rose to 53%, a 4-point increase over last week when it was 49%. Trump's rising approval rating is surprising given the flag the White House has received over the tariff order signed Wednesday. It is up by 13 points since March 7th among those aged 18 to 29. Trump also saw a 6-point increase in favorability among Democrats and independents, according to the survey. The Republicans' support among black voters skyrocketed 17 points since last week, the poll found. When it comes to Trump's universal 10% tariff on all goods coming in from other countries, more Americans support the policy than oppose it. Wow, it's amazing, right? It's as if, people that are actually paying attention, that are listening to what the Trump administration is trying to do and the arguments that they're making, that they find these arguments to be compelling, right? And they understand that, okay, we need to go in a different direction as a country in regards to economic policy, okay? 1 in 3 respondents, 36%, support President Trump's 10% minimum tariff, the poll found. Only 28% are opposed to the policy, while the remaining 36% were unsure. Respondents also supported by a slim margin increasing tariffs on all goods from all foreign countries. The survey found 39% of registered voters support increasing tariffs on all goods, while 37% oppose it. The remainder, 24%, were unsure. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that the American people understand what the president's trying to do. Over the last 4 years, we've experienced massive inflation. Wall Street has benefited tremendously from massive inflation, which, again, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why are they so afraid of the tariffs if the tariffs are just going to lead to more massive inflation, right? Again, it just doesn't make sense. Something's not adding up here. Regardless, the American people understand that they've suffered under Joe Biden, okay, and that something has to change. And it seems like the American people are giving President Trump a chance. And again, it's just funny because the leftists, they are losing their minds when it is clear that President Trump is actually trying to help out Main Street, right? Like he doesn't care about the so-called billionaires, right? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of billionaire friends that are in President Trump's ear and Scott Bessett's ear and Howard Lutnick's ear, right? I'm pretty sure the whole Trump administration, they're hearing a lot from the billionaires, right? But he's doing what he has to do for Main Street. Okay, and for whatever reason, again, the Democrats, the people that claim to be the party of the working class, they're against it, right? Even though Democrats, back in the 90s, they used to be for it, okay, when they were a more sane party, right? When they actually were as popular as President Trump is right now, right? So I'm just saying that I think that a lot of these liberals are so dumb, right, that they don't even understand that they're supporting the very thing that they claim that they're against, right? You claim that you're against the billionaires and the oligarchy, but yet you're supporting the billionaires and the oligarchy, right? That's what they're doing when they go out here and they protest on behalf of Democrats. What a timeline. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.